Hi, I'm Megan Hutchison. I am the illustrator and co-creator of Rockstars, and today I'm going to draw Sandman. I did grow up reading comics. I read a lot of underground comics, but Sandman was probably like one of my first not underground comic, I guess. And also like everything Neil Gaiman writes is magical. So when I was in high school, I thought I was going to be a fashion designer of men's clothing. Oh my God, I'm making him look like a Gomer. And I always designed men's dresses, which I guarantee you in like 25 years you will see that, men in dresses. And that's what Sandman wears. Or, I mean, it's a robe, but semantics. So my background is in graphic design. So I always go for like the whole composition first. And then, because we're humans, all we want to look at are our faces. So then the face is always like the second. Jimmy Palmiotti keeps telling me that he wants me to draw a comic book about myself called The Happy Goth. Not mutually exclusive. You can be happy and gothic. There's only like 2 of us, so we're a rare breed. Joe Harris, who I do Rockstars with, he and I are doing, we're part of the horror anthology for John Carpenter. It's about a witch, and there's a lot of death and teen horror, and it's all pink, so that'll be a lot of fun. So that's the next project that I'm currently drawing that right now. And then after that, I am co-writing and drawing a graphic novel with Jimmy Palmiotti about a Bigfoot and a mermaid, and it's a buddy road trip comedy. So a little different for both of us, but it will be very inappropriate. So I guess it's still in like the same vein of who we are as people. As a 90s child, gas masks were very in. Like especially, oh God, I'm telling too much about myself. I was a rave kid. Like people would always wear like gas masks and goggles, and it was the 90s, and they had like those stupid Junko jeans, which are coming back because there is no order or law in the universe. And so I think that just like growing up with that in my life, I have an affinity. I actually own a couple of gas masks. And then when I got married, my husband was like, can we not have that? So that's how much I love him. I'm kind of borderline OCD, and everything is small all the time. So I try to keep my pencils really loose because otherwise my inks would be very boring. But to kind of remedy that so I don't freak out, I use a really small pen, like a way too small pen, because it kind of sates the appetite I have for control. Like I am OCDing out right now on this like little spinal column because there's all these like tiny details. This is my brush pen. It's my favorite tool in my arsenal. So I'm gonna correct this before we go any further because this is driving me crazy. So now he's standing in water. Water is awesome because you can just do this and now he's standing in water. Pro tip, guys. There's certain, like everyone has like their go-tos or whatnot, but like they're just, sometimes I start in one place and sometimes I don't. It just really depends on the piece. It's very organic. It's art. There's no one way to do anything. It's whatever you feel comfortable with. The number one lesson that I learned, both in filmmaking and in fine art, is that you gotta let go with it, because like life, you can't control everything around you. And so I had a rough idea what I wanted this to look like, and now it's turning into this, and I'm just accepting it, as most things. Just gotta roll with the punches and make the best of a situation. I'm gonna cheat right now because this thing, that brush pen is driving me crazy. So this is my number one tip, and I actually learned this from Dave Johnson. When your pen starts to dry out, keep it, because it does this like awesome gradient, which is great for hair. I'm not going to use that right now, but there you go. Pro tip. So when I was a kid, I wanted to be a comic book artist, and this was in the 90s, and everyone kind of like drew kind of the same. But there was like the style, you know, like the 90s like comic book style. And so I never drew like that, and so I was like kind of just always put in the back of my head that I was never going to be a comic book artist, because that wasn't how I drew. And now there's just so many like different variations of style and also content that there's, you know, like people want things that don't look like that kind of like 90s comic book style. Jim Mahfood, like he has that like very like graffiti, like energetic punk style. So stuff like that is like now becoming more accepted, which I love. It's progress. So I kind of have like the basics laid out, and I kind of have to figure out how the rest of this competition is how the composition is going to be laid out. It's like the serious decision making, which isn't always good. See, now I have to just like commit to this being black because I started on it. I learned from Jim Mahfood to relax while I'm drawing, because he's very like, you know, like, I mean, he knows what he's doing, but like, obviously, but he'll just, you know, like do stuff and he'll just roll with it. And when I first started doing this full time, he would always tell me to relax. So, 'cause this is how I used to draw. I used to draw like this. And it's like, ugh. And actually, it's funny because like you'll see, there are still some people that are professional illustrators that draw like that, and that's how they work. But you'll see like young, like new artists, like young artists that do that because they're just like honing in on it. And he amongst other people, also Dave Johnson, they're like, sit back and like you have to work this way, because then you have like a, you know, you kind of know what's going on here. You know, you can't see things when you're like this. Although this is really comfortable. See, now I'm OCDing again. That helps you with OCDing, is not leaning in. There you go. I just learned that about myself. Now I'm learning things. Oh my God, this is a therapy session for everybody. I love it. You're welcome. Okay, so now I'm gonna do the hair, because the hair is the dessert. I love drawing hair. Everyone has like a thing that they're into. Mine is hair. I've just, ever since I was a kid, I love organic things. So, like I also love drawing like plants. I will put trees in this. I just put trees in everything that I do. But, oh God, this feels so good. So, you just kind of like let it do its thing, which is why my hair looks crazy in real life all the time. So this is another cheat that I do. As a graphic designer, composition is key. So a nice little cheat, it's not a cheat, it's my thing, so if you steal it, I will sue you. But I like to put like boxes and built-in frames around things, because it just like automatically gives you, it just sets your composition. Like you just have this place, like a space for it. Like everything looks intentional at that point. So I actually started doing this when I was a kid, because I taught myself to draw and I wasn't very good. But I was like, oh, but if I put something behind it, it looks like everything was on purpose. And that's where that came from. Fake it till you make it, guys. So, these are Copic markers. This is Warm Gray 2 and Warm Gray 4, and I always carry them with me, except this is dye, because it's really good to just like throw tones on things really easily when you're doing just black and white sketches. And I do the warm gray because skin tones are warm always. So I have like people come up to my table all the time, and they're like in school, They're like, I want to be a comic book artist. Like, you know, like, what should I do? And of course, like, number one is just like draw all the time, like every day, all the time, as much as you can. But then the other thing is like, find the stuff that you can rely on. Like, find the stuff that you like to draw that you can like throw into work, not just because it helps you when you're drawing if you can draw stuff that you like to draw, because that energy like translates, but also it becomes kind of your, I don't want to say calling card, but like it becomes your thing a little bit. And so mine are trees. So I put trees in everything. So like every commission I do, they're like, I want Wonder Woman in space. I'm like, cool, there's a tree in it. You're welcome. This is the warm 2, and this is just good for throwing in some contrast. It just gives it shape, you know? And then the most important thing about Sandman are his sparkle eyes. Actually, in Rockstars, the demons have sparkle eyes. They have like a glow that comes out of their eyes, and it's from Sandman. That's my homage to kind of like the reason I wanted to get into comics in the first place. I like to do this too. This is also like a Jim Mafu trick. Throw some squiggly lines in there. Yeah. Get in there with that. So I'll sign it, as I'm doing right now. And then I'll be like, you know what? So you're supposed to be done after you sign it. Then I'm like, you know what? This is my MO. Everyone has a different MO, and mine is probably wrong, but I don't care. It gets the job done. I'm Megan Hutchison, and this is Sandman.